Miss Jones, madam, do you know Tim Brooks? Yes, I do. And did you know him in November of 1991? Yes, I did. When did you first meet him? I met him in the summertime. It was around July. And what, if anything, was your relationship with Tim Brooks after you met him? He was my boyfriend. Now, do you know someone named Mary Johnson? Yes, I do. And what, if anything, is your relationship with her? She was a friend of mine. Now, drawing your attention to October, the days of the 17th, 18th, or 19th of October, did something happen between you and Tim? Defendant's counsel. Objection, if you please. The court overruled. Proceed. Yes, it did. Would you please speak up? Yes, it did, I said. What, if anything, happened, and where did it happen? I believe it was a Friday night. Tim was at my house, and we had a fight because of the simple fact I was getting phone calls at my house, and he didn't appreciate me talking on the phone with my friends, and he punched me in the face. What else did he do, Kathy? Defendant's counsel. Objection, unimportant. The court overruled. You mean that night? Yes. He hit me. We were fighting. And other than what you said, the fact that you were receiving phone calls, was there any reason for the fight? No. Defendant's counsel. Objection. The court, well, sustained. If, in fact, the witness knows there is any reason. Is there any reason that you know of why he hit you? Defendant's counsel. Objection. Operation of the mind. The court overruled. He was just a jealous type man. I don't know. Now, that evening, or the next day, Saturday, did you have occasion to talk to Mary Johnson? Yes, I did. And where was that? If I recall, it was in front of my building. And did that conversation concern Tim Brooks? Yes, it did. What did Mary Johnson tell you concerning Tim Brooks at that time? Defendant's counsel. Objection. The court overruled. She looked at my face, and she said, "What happened to your face?" And I said, "Well, of course you should know that. What has happened to my face?" She asked me if Tim did it, and I told her yes. Did she say anything about Tim? Defendant's counsel. Objection. The court overruled. She said to me that he was all right. He was a very angry person, and he was a very bad person, and he had hit her on several occasions. He had beat her on different times. What else did she tell you about him, if anything? She told me that he used to rob people. Defendant's counsel. Objection. The court sustained. Defendant's counsel. Move to strike. The court sustained. It's stricken. The jury is to disregard it. Did she say anything that Tim had done to her? She had told me he had beaten her several times, and I should not be around him at all. I needed to go get an order of protection out on him. Did she mention any incident that may have occurred shortly before this conversation? Just yes or no? Defendant's counsel. Objection. The court overruled. Excuse me? Did she talk about an incident that may have occurred a week or so before this? Defendant's counsel. Objection. The court overruled. Yes, yes. Kathy, you have to speak up. Yes. What did she say to you about that incident? She told me that I should not. You have to excuse me. She told me that I should not be with Tim because of the things that he has done to her. Defendant's counsel. Objection, Your Honor. The court. All right, sustained. It's stricken. It's not responsive to the question. Listen to my question. Did she discuss with you something that happened a week before your conversation with her? Yes, she did. And what did she say happened between her and Tim to you that day? She told me that he had that he had beaten her. He walked up behind her in her apartment building, and he had beaten her with some, I don't know what it was, but he had beaten her, and she had got black and blue marks on her body. Now, drawing your attention to November 8th, Friday evening, did something happen with you and Tim that evening? Yes, it did. Would you tell the jury what happened on that evening? That day I came from school. That afternoon I had come from school. What school were you going to at that time? BTI. I was going to nursing school to be a nursing assistant. And what happened then? That night, my mother had went out. I was in the house with my kids, and I was tired. How many children do you have? I have 2 girls. Continue. What happened on that 8th? I came home from school. Tim came in the house, and apparently I had fell asleep. I was tired, and my mother had went out. Next thing I knew, I fell asleep, and all I could feel was somebody pounding on my back, just hitting me in my back. And who was the only person in the apartment at that time? Defense counsel. Objection. Plaintiff's counsel. Withdrawn. The court. Sustained. Who was pounding you on the back? Tim Brooks. Who was in the apartment at this time? It was me, my kids, and Tim Brooks. Were your children hitting you on the back? No, they were not. Let me ask you this. Do you know why Tim was hitting you on the back while you were sleeping? Tell the jury what happened. He wanted to talk to me, and I did not feel like talking that night, and he beat me on my back because I fell asleep. Did you do anything to him at that time? No, I didn't. Did Tim leave the house? No, he didn't. Did there come a time when he left the house that evening? Yes, he did. So why did it stop in the middle of the iPhone? I gave you 5 minutes. It says 3:36:1. It's just sitting there.
Yeah. Did you accidentally graze it with your finger?